Hello, today I'm going to be showing you how to install and set up OpenSim and how to connect it to another grid. I'm going to be connecting it to my friend's grid. The grid is called the Social Mouse. Right now I'm in my my virtual machine. It's a Linux Ubuntu virtual machine using the XFCE desktop environment. So first I'm going to open a web browser. Alright. OpenSimulator.org. First you're going to download OpenSimulator. You're going to hit the download, go to OpenSimulator.org, hit the download button. Either one of these two files. I did the .tar.gz because I'm using Linux. But they're both pretty much the same. They just zip differently. So I already downloaded that file. As you can see, if I go into my file manager, it's in my downloads folder right there. Okay, so now we're going to want to unzip it. I'm going to open that up. I'm going to click extract, and I'm going to extract it. Extract it. Now, I'm not giving it its own folder because inside this zip file is only one folder. So I'm just going to extract it right into there. Alright. Because as you can see, it's only one folder. If it was more than one folder, then I'd give it its own folder. Okay, so now I'm going to open up the command prompt right here. Going to move that. So you know, I might be able to move it without the command prompt. Let me see if I can just cut it and paste it. Into opt. So we're going to move it into opt. Yeah, see, it won't do. Okay. Just going to minimize that for a second. So I'm going to go, okay, cd download move OpenSim dash 0.9.1.1 to /opt. Okay, I gotta run that with sudo. sudo, I gotta run it with sudo for sudo moves it with administrative privileges. So move with administrative privileges to the opt folder. And there There we go. Now it's in the opt folder. All right. Now there's a few different things we have to configure. Let's go to the opt folder. Let's go to Finalizing-0.9.1.1, and let's go to the bin folder inside that. All right. So now let's go back to here. We're going to go back to our opensimulator.org, and we're going to go to configuration, running an OpenSimulator standalone or grid installation with hypergrid enabled. And then there's a link right here, installing and running hypergrid. So I'll give you that link. The direct link is right here. I'll give you that direct link. Alright, now these instructions are a little bit outdated because I think the only difference is that some of the URLs and ports in the configuration files, and the OpenSim configuration files are now they now use variables, so you don't need to change every single solitary one like the instructions say. So its first set says to set the home URI and gatekeeper URI. Okay, so you got to set the home URI and gatekeeper URI. So this is in OpenSim.ini. Okay, so first thing we got to do is we got to go into OpenSim.ini, and we got to set the, I know this overlaps here, but we got to set the right mode that we want to use in architecture. So let's go into command prompt. I thought we had a command prompt already. Okay. All right, okay, we got our file manager up. Okay, so we have to go run nano open. Oh, wait a minute. We have to copy those first. Yeah, we have to copy it first. So ls OpenSim.ini.example. Okay. So we gotta copy OpenSim.ini.example to OpenSim.ini. Then I gotta go nano open. Remember, it's case sensitive. .ini, and we've seen here we have to change the architecture. I put my bar on the side here just so it's easier. I think it's actually at the very bottom. Let's go use the page down. It's in architecture section. We gotta go to the architecture section. I think it's just at the very bottom. Oh, there it is. Architecture. Okay, architecture. Here's this architecture. And now we're going to make sure the right one is turned on. This is not, it's standalone INI. That's not the one we want. We want grid hypergrid, because I want hypergrid to work. So, and I want it to be in grid mode because I'm connected to another grid, and I want hypergrid to work. So grid hypergrid is the setting we want. So I'm gonna write out, which is Control O. Okay, there we go. And okay, so it says here, it says to set the home URI and gatekeeper URI. All we have to do is uncomment these in the hypergrid section. The hypergrid section, it says to use standalone common, and so it says to use standalone common, but we're doing it in grid mode, so we're going to be using grid common. So grid common is what we're going to be working with. So let's exit out of this file. Okay, so let's go into the config include file. Let's do a list. Okay, so we have grid common ini.example and grid hypergrid. So we have to copy grid common .ini.example. Now, if we were doing in standalone mode, we'd be doing standalone common. So we're going to copy grid common, grid common, .ini.example to grid common .ini. All right. Now we're going to go nano grid common INI. And again, if we were using standalone mode and having our own grid, but we don't have our own grid, we're connecting to somebody else's grid. So here's the hypergrid section. Now, notice that they have variables here. So all you have to do is uncomment these. You don't have to actually edit the home URI and gatekeeper URI. You don't have to edit them. You just have to uncomment them. See, the semicolon means it's commented out, so you just get rid of the semicolon. Control O, enter, write out. Control X. Okay, that part's done. Okay. You see, it says you need to home URI, gatekeeper URI. You don't need to do this part because, as you can see, let's go back in the file again. Public port, base URL. It uses base, yeah, so it's already those variables, base URL and public port, automatically turn into the ports and addresses we want. So we don't have to change those, even though it says not to. That's the part that's out of date. This part we don't have to do. Step 2 we don't have to do. Step 3, I don't think we have to do that. Is there anything else we have to do? There is something else we have to do. Alright, we do need to, I'm not seeing where it says to set the says to set the address for the grid we're connecting to. But I think it's in our OpenSim file. Okay, here we go. It's in our OpenSim.ini file. Okay, so I guess it doesn't mention this section of the OpenSim.ini file. Because you used to change it in a different location, but nowadays you change it here. The OpenSim.ini file under constant, we want to change the base host name. Yeah, so these instructions really need to be updated. Okay, so go into your OpenSim.ini file, and where it's underneath constant, where it says base host name, we're going to put the URI of our grid that we're connecting to. In this case, we're connecting to the social mouse, which is grid.thesocialmouse.net. Do not include the port number, the colon and the number. Base URI is automatically set. Public port is automatically set. Private port is automatically set. Private URL. So all this is automatic. So I'm going to Control O to write it and enter. Control X. Okay, so let's just double check that ini file to make sure it's there. Okay, we have grid.thesocialmouse.net, and that's going to be whatever the URI of your the grid that you're connecting to. And you can find it on your grid's website. So if you go onto your, I'm not going to go there, but anyway, if you go onto your grid's website, it should be there. It'll say, yeah, let me go there real quick. All right, so it shows the grid URI. That shows the grid URI. You don't include the http://. You don't include the part. You don't include the colon. You just include the this. You just include the. You just include the highlighted part, not the http:// and not the colon with the port number. Just the part in the middle you include. All right. So you leave out the http:// You leave out the colon . All right. Just the post and the domain name. So we got that set up. Okay. All right, so you see the instructions, I guess, are a little bit changed because we don't change it in all those different locations anymore. We only change it in one location, one central location that's in the OpenSim.ini file. We no longer have to go into. We no longer have to change the address in like 50 different locations. Well, I'm exaggerating, but you know what I mean. Okay, now we're going to go into the regions folder. So we're going to go CD, regions, ls. So we're going to copy regions. It's actually easier than what the instructions say, but since the instructions are kind of outdated, it complicates things a little bit. Okay, so now we're gonna, and another thing, I don't think it tells us to copy the example files, and we want to make sure we do that. We want to copy the example files. Speaking of copying their example files, did I copy the, let's see. Okay, so I copy, it shows I copied the OpenSim.ini file. It says I copied the gridcommon.ini file. I didn't do grid hypergrid. Grid hypergrid. Grid A B C D E F G A B C D E F G H I A B C D E F G. stupid me, wrong folder. Grid.common.ini. Okay, okay, there is no grid hypergrid example file. Okay, so there is no grid hypergrid example file, so we don't have to worry about that. Let's go and so we only had to copy OpenSim.ini.example. We had to copy gridcommon.ini.example. We didn't have to do grid hypergrid.ini.example and regions.ini.example. Okay, so now we copied those all. So let's go back into our regions folder. It's kind of confusing that they have an example folder and, you know, I don't know why they have the example files to begin with, but they do that just to make it more difficult, I guess. Okay, so nano, what's in regions? Okay, our regions.ini file. Okay, so we nano regions.ini. I wish they didn't have the .example files, you know, and just did the .ini files without the .example files. It would make things much easier. Okay, so they want a region UUID. This is not really random. I can, you know, go to, if you want something random, you just go to DuckDuckGo.com, one of my two favorite search engines, and just type in, just do a search for random UUID, and DuckDuckGo will give you a random UUID. You just go to DuckDuckGo.com. You type in random UUID, and DuckDuckGo gives you a random UUID. And you just copy that. All right, let's go back to our command prompt, and let's delete this, which is not really random. I mean, I guess we could use that if we wanted to, but let's not. Let's just use Control V. Okay. I pushed Control V thinking I could paste it. This isn't Windows, so pasting is right click and paste. There we go. Okay. All right, now this is all commented out. So all sorts of stuff you could change if you wanted to, I guess. Let's see. Okay, here's the, okay, this is not all commented out. Okay, I went too fast. Okay, so we got the region UUID, put a random UUID for that. We want the location. So we got to figure out where we're going to put it. And you and your, you and the person that owns the grid can decide on a location together. Now, for the social mouse, their map is at maps.thesocialmouse.net. So I'm going to put it right here, and that's right next to water. That's a water region right here. I know you can't see it, but there's this is a 4x4 right here, and that's a land region, Oceania SE, and then this is 4x4 water region right here, Oceana Waterway. And I'm putting mine right here, 1004, 1001. So not jot down. See, this is an empty spot on the map. See, if you see the key here shows blue, means it's free, right? So that's a free spot. 1004, 1004, and that's right next to a water region. 1004, 1001. Now you're gonna want to put yours where you and the grid owner have decided to put it. So don't put it in the same place. I'm putting mine. Internal address. I don't know. It puts it as 0000, which is not a valid address. Why don't we just go back to the instructions? Okay. Okay. So it says, as a last step, the regions must be configured so that they supply external addresses that are the same as the hypergrid addresses. Okay, region setup. So it gives me a link here to, and this link's not working. I know it's in here somewhere. Let's go back to configuration. I'll find it and I'll put the link. Okay, it's in configuration, then running for the first time. So I'll make sure I put a link to that. So I got a link. So this is the first link you're going to use. We already did this part. And then when it's time to set up the region, we're going to go use this link right here. Or just follow me. Okay. The name of your region, right? Okay, so of course we forgot that. We want to name our region, right? We don't want to rename it. We don't want it to call default region, and you can name it whatever you want. My name is Jacob. I'm going to call mine Jacob's Town. All right. The region UUID, region location, we already went over that. Internal IP address, in virtually all cases, this can be left as 0000. This is a wildcard that allows OpenSim to listen for UDP connections on any of the server's network interfaces. If you want to restrict, UDP is just how it's connecting over the internet. UDP connection to only one network interface, then you can specify an explicit IP address. This address is only used internally. The external host name is, okay, internal port and client. The name is, okay, so it says for the internal port, it's safe to leave it as 9000. Each region on your server must have a unique port. So that's a little vague, but let me explain it a little better. Your first region can be 9000. Your second region would be 9001, and then your third region would be 9002, and you just increment it like that. It says each region on your server must have a unique port. So that means each region has to have a different port number. Most people just do 9000, 9001, 9002, 9003. You know, most people just do it that way. It says you can make any port you want. So, again, you know, most people just do it in the 9000s because it's easiest that way. Allow external ports. You want to leave that as the default. External host name. So if you leave, it says if you leave it as system IP, the external host name, it'll turn into the internal port of the computer on your network. So they want, so like if you have, if your server has a domain name, you can, you know, put the external host name and set it to that domain name. So I don't, host name, I'm just going to leave it like that. I do have a domain name for this server, but I don't have it set up yet. So I'm just going to leave it system IP. I guess you could put your network's public IP address. This shows a private IP address. I don't know why. Okay, so this shows a private IP address, but you could put your server's public IP address or your server's domain name, like whatever, myserver.com or whatever.com, for the external host name. But we're just going to leave it blank. I'm going to call it Jacobstown. I put in the UUID. I put in the location. This, just the internal address, leave the way it is. The internal port for the first region, you can just leave it 9000. For the second region, you do 9001, etc. So I'm going to Control O to write it, and Control. Did I write it? Control O. File name to write. Wrote 101 lines. Control X to exit. All right. So that should be it. My friend, my friend who runs the Social Mouse, had suggested that I do not only a tutorial, but you know, not only a video tutorial, but also like instructions on how to do this. And I think that probably would be a good idea, because the instructions on the official website are a little outdated, and they don't mention copying those example files. Okay. So now we're going to go back into the bin folder. Oh, one other thing. One more thing. If you don't have Nano I'm sorry. If you don't have Mono, okay, because I'm using Linux. Because I'm using Linux, we're going to use Mono to start OpenSim. And there is information on that in, not in the Open Simulator website, but there's a link to it in there. So let me find you that, and I'll be right back. I remember, you got to go to download, and then you got to go to dependencies. No, it's not download. You have to go to running. And that brings you to the dependencies page. Okay, getting mono. Download, official download page, and then you go to Linux, Ubuntu, because I'm running Ubuntu. If you have Windows, you don't have to install mono because it doesn't need mono. With Windows it doesn't need mono, but with Linux it does. So you go to Linux, your version of Linux, and then you run these commands one at a time, depending on which version you have. And you want to do, when you install, I use the complete. I don't use mono-devel. I use mono-complete because I want the whole thing. Okay? So that's how you install mono. Okay, but I don't have to do that because I already did that. So type in mono, and with Linux you have to tell it that the file's in this folder when you're running something. When you're running a program, you have to do / to tell Linux that it's in the current folder. I know it seems weird, but that's what you have to do. .exe. So mono. So you make sure you're in the folder, the OpenSim folder and the bin folder. You run mono space / OpenSim.exe. Make sure you got the right upper and lowercase letters. And now we got to set it up. New estate name. I'm going to call it Jacob's Estate. Estate owner first name. I'm going to call it Jacob. I already have an avatar in the social mouse called Jacob81 Mouse. So I'm going to use that one. And that's it. It's up. So now when I go to the map, if I refresh the map, there I am. Jacobstown. Alright, so now I'm going to minimize this and go into my real computer, and I'm going to run Firestorm just to show you. Okay, so if I go Jacob81 Mouse, and then I go to, I'm going to start in my home location. Start my home location. Log in. Actually, I could have just typed in my my location right in there, but I'm gonna do it this way. Okay, so if you're in World, once you get in World, once you get in World, you can go to your world map, and you type in the name of your region, and it should pop up. Let me do that again. And it should pop up, and right there. And there I am. My location, my little town, and this is the default, terrain it gives you. It gives you a big hump in the middle. You see that on the world map. Puts a big hump in the middle, with a whole bunch of water surrounded by lots and lots of water. But the default is 256 meters by 256 meters, and you can now you can do whatever you want with this. I can change. I can turn build off. I can go into the settings, and I can go into the settings here and change the settings. Disable and enable flying building. You probably want to disable building so people don't build all over your property. And then you could change the region. You have to go in the region. You can change the rating, and anything you want to do with your region. Alright, so that's it for this tutorial. If you liked the video, please leave a like. Thank you very much. Goodbye.